Welcome to the Spiritual Principles Made Practical podcast. Today we're going to talk about dealing with resistance that we have, internal resistance. And uh, there are a lot of strategies to deal with that, but ultimately, for me at least, the way to approach it is to be more conscious of it, right? Because there's a resist if there's a resistance, what that means is that actually there's a conflict between what we think we should do and what we feel like doing. And what that means is actually because our feelings are generated by our thoughts. What that means is that we have conflicting thoughts, right? Part of us feels, we should do this, and part of us feels that for whatever reason we shouldn't. And the way past all of that or through all of that is the same as everything else, is acceptance, as consciousness, is say, okay, so I'll give you a couple examples from my life. One is marketing, right? So part of me feels, oh, I should do marketing to extend my reach and to resonate with more people, and I need revenue. And so I should be doing marketing. And then I have resistance to that. So when I look at that resistance, I say, well, none of the marketing I've ever done has really netted me anything. The only thing that's netted me anything is being myself. And so what I really need to do is to be myself. And this is kind of, for me at least, gets into the whole concept of time, right? Because the I if I think that the only time that exists is the present moment, well, when I'm being myself, I'm in the present moment, and that's when everything works, and that's where there's joy, and there's no pain and suffering in the present moment. So there's no financial worry, there's no stress, there's none of that. There's no conflict, right? When I'm in the present moment. And so if I'm feeling resistance, what it means is that I have conflicting thoughts, and that I need to go into the present moment and to be conscious of those conflicting thoughts. And then once I'm conscious of them, I can make a better decision. So either I can decide, how can I be more true to myself and more honest with myself, and knowing that that optimizes everything in my life, including marketing, right? Or I can say, like in some cases, I used to think about, oh well, I'm not getting to like get my taxes done, and then I think about, oh well, what there's stress around, dealing with getting my taxes done, but then there's also uh, stress in not getting them done, and so then I have to go, okay, well, which stress is bigger, which one is worse, dealing with it or not dealing with it. And in the case of taxes, I mean, it's always come out that, what, I'd much rather do the work to get my taxes done than than suffer the consequences of not doing my taxes and not filing my returns, right? That's going to create a lot more stress and a lot more problems. And then that goes, okay, well, then the lesser of two evils becomes quite apparent. But in general, when there's stress, I mean, a lot of times, it's uh, in the case of me in marketing, it's really, very clear once I take time to understand what the conflicting thoughts are. Because, I mean, I have spent a ton of money on marketing, and the only thing that's ever worked is just me being me. There's not another thing that's worked. And so I'm just looking for more ways to be myself. And that's um, my response to how to deal with internal conflict, right? Or, and it's like, and it's consistent with everything else that I know and believe, but more importantly, it's consistent with my experience. I can think about, it's so funny. There's a story I want to tell you. When I was graduating college, I was going through interviews for prospective employees at the placement office at Berkeley. And 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 the whole time, I mean, I was just, really uptight and I really wanted a job, and I was trying to think about, well, what would they want to hear and all this other stuff, and I was getting rejection notice after rejection notice after rejection notice. And then one time this guy comes and he's a substitute interviewer and he wants to talk to me about sales. And I'm not interested in sales. And so I figure I got nothing to lose here. I'll just relax and be me, right? And so I said, so he said, you interested in sales? I said, no. I signed up for an engineering interview. I didn't sign up for a sales interview. And he said, well, what's your idea of sales? And I said, pushing things on people they don't want or need. I don't want to do that. And he said, well, it's different at my company, and you want to hear about it? And I'm like, man, this guy's not giving it up. It's like, how many ways do I have to say, no, I'm not interested? So I finally said, whatever, man, I got 20 minutes left. I mean, I'm making it very clear that, I am not interested, dude. And I ended up working for him for 7 years, and it ended up being the perfect job for me because I learned social skills that I didn't have growing up, and that was really critical to my life. I mean, if you don't have, and my social skills today are, I would say they're not great, but they're not zero, which is where they kind of started out to be. So, um, it's really important. I mean, a life without social skills is a rugged deal. And so it was like, okay, I was just myself and all this other stuff that I thought I was not interested in and wouldn't be good for me turned out to be great for me. And says, but it all came about by just me being myself, and the guy liked that I was a wise ass, and that I was a smart mouth, I mean, he liked it, I had spunk and stuff, I mean, he liked that, that was attractive to him, and it's like, who knew? And there were over 200 applicants for every job that was available there, and I got the job, so it was interesting that way. And I can look to the part-time job I had before that, or the summer job I had before that. Once again, I didn't apply for the job. The lady doing the hiring knew me and wanted me and contacted me and said, there's again several hundreds of people wanting this job, and it's yours if you want it. I'm like, okay. I said, I like you, you like me, we get along well, it's like, sure, we can do this. So anyway, that's my experience. But what I tell people is that identify what works for you. I've shared with you what works for me, and that's sort of the essence of that is identifying what works for any individual and going with that. So what works for you will have that same energy and vibration of being yourself, but it will manifest completely differently. It won't look anything like what I do, right? But it'll be you and it'll be true to you. And so anytime that you have resistance, okay, you just can't seem to get something done, understand that you have conflicting thoughts and sit down and meditate on what are the thoughts that are in conflict here and what's the optimal response. How can I best be true to myself here? And I promise you, uh, you'll be better off for having invested the time and effort to do that. I do thought coaching because we create our world with our thoughts. And once we know what our thoughts are, our world improves. And I help people with that. You can contact me for a free introductory session. I mean, I'm fond of saying, you know, we believe some of what we hear, more of what we see, and everything that we experience. And until you've experienced a thought coaching session with me, you have not experienced a thought coaching session with me. It is not like anything you've ever experienced. Anyway, you can schedule a free introductory coaching session with me at scottfriedman40 at gmail.com, SCOTTFRIEDMAN40 at gmail.com. And the whole thing, I mean, Howard Thurman said, and I subscribe to, is that don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you vitally alive, because what the world needs is people who are more vitally alive. And that's what I'll help you do with your thinking is I'll help you experience being more vitally alive. So contact me and we'll do that. My books, including Being Ourself, or Believing in Ourself, the Master Skill, are available on Amazon. You can find links to them on the website, www.thoughtcoachingbyscott.com. And in specific, I wrote a book about getting out of our own way. It's called Insights in Getting Out of Our Own Way. And if you're really struggling with internal conflict, I would recommend that book to you because it really digs into our internal resistance and how we can get out of our own way. Because we don't want to be in our own way. All right. Be well.